Hello. How is everybody today? I've been meaning to play this game. It is something. It is hard. It is very hard. I will start in a second. Oh, actually the camera's cutting off so you can't see it. So right next to me, literally right off camera, I have a laptop. I have to get chat up because if anyone types in more than about a sentence or two, it doesn't show up on the PS4. I've never beat this game either. I haven't even, well, sorry. You know those days when you just can't wake up? Yeah, that's today for me. Ooh, wow. Best game ever made. Ooh, Hollow Knight's on my list. Haven't gotten to it yet. I think I bought it already though. No, it's hard to say. The number of games that I own versus the number of games that I've played is an interesting study unto itself. Oh, alright, hold on. I've been at my computer all day long. Okay, so for those of you who don't know this game, you are going to learn very quickly why I chose it. For those of you who do know this game, you already know why I chose this game for today. So this top one, which is not the one I'm going to play, I have 867 deaths. This one, which you'll notice the time is 1 hour, 13 minutes. I played this for the other game design 1 class only and died 113 times. Yeah. So we're going to talk about failure today. Oh, shit. Gosh, should have chosen Cuphead. So I have not actually played Cuphead yet. I don't own it. So I have watched it played. And I think there might be a copy of it at one of my labs. But there's a pandemic. Yeah, so I own a lot of games, but also because literally short of winning like a multi-million-dollar lottery, there's no way I could afford all the games I want. If I know people who like own a game or if I have it at the lab or something, sometimes I won't buy it myself. But yeah, okay, so today we're going to talk about failure, but just in case, oh, do I want to go that way? No. Just to give everyone who has never seen this game before a little taste of it, before we start talking about failure, I am going to just do some stuff, like die. I am not very good at platformers. Not least of which is because I forget what the buttons do. Oh, okay, we did a thing. So what is that? 3 deaths and we've been playing for 60 seconds. That is why we are going to play this game Fuck the strawberry. Okay. So when I play and I am not streaming, I go after strawberries. Guitar Blade, that actually makes me feel better about myself. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Also, you're gonna see me pause playing a lot more than I normally do, and that is because this game is really too hard for me to be teaching class while I play. But that's okay. That's okay. I love this game. I fail over and over and over again, and I love this game. But let's talk about that a little bit. So in the reading for today, by the way, I know I didn't do any class announcements. I want to do that at the end of class because I want to make sure I get through all of the reading notes before I fall asleep. That is coffee I'm drinking. I'm doing my best. Okay, so a couple of things that just to kind of warm up here with the conversation. The author says in the beginning of this reading that we as players are not good enough. What do you think about that? Do you agree? Do you disagree? I'm trying to... Oops, that's not what I wanted. What? How does that? You agreed with it? It's putting the burden on the developer? How do you mean? So I feel like this thing is supposed to move, but I don't know how to get it to move. Are not good enough. G-O-O-D. Yeah, but I did grab it, see? Oh. Oh, really? Try that. Whoa! Well, there's a thing. Okay, we got it to move. I learned a thing. I'm actually not being funny when I say that. We're gonna come back to that. Alright, so I think... Fuck! No! Ah! Okay. I mean, compared to the rest of the game, that actually was easy. This, on the other hand... Hold on. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'll tell you about it later.
Okay.
What I can say? No, never mind. I'll tell you about it later.
Okay. Sorry, my roommate was upstairs and said fuck very, very loudly. Just wanted to make sure, you know. So I agree, let's talk about this. If a player fails, does that mean the player isn't good enough? What does that even mean, not good enough? Not good enough for what? Okay, so I think what we do is this. Whoops, no, and then I want to jump over it. I think that's how that works. I gotta jump the other... I want to jump... why can't I jump? Ooh, there we go. Yeah, so this idea here is that if you fail at something, it means you're not good enough, which I would say is ridiculous. So sometimes I'm just not sure which way I want to go. Whoa! Wow, okay. Well, that's an interesting way to put it, to be not good enough at that specific time. But if you fail and continue, then you're learning 100%. Failure is a good thing. It forces the player to get better. Yes. All of this. Yes. So, I mean, this kind of comes down to what does failure mean, right? So if we're going to ask, is every death a failure? And you don't think so, then we have to start with what is a failure. Oh, that's not how that works? Whoa! Maybe that's not the easier way to go. Oh, that's not cool. Woo! Let's try this again. I think if I time it correctly with it bouncing at the top, I get higher, but maybe not high enough. Is it normal dash instead of jumping? Let me try that. Whoops, wrong button. Ooh, I bet I know now. Hold on. Maybe I can dash midair. Whoa! Yes, but I need to make sure I'm lined up correctly. Okay, so I get why you say touche, but I wasn't trying to be difficult there, right? So, like, honestly, here's the thing. This is a very cultural, does choosing one direction mean we'll miss some stages in the game? I'm actually not sure because I haven't played that far into this game before. But anyway, so culturally we have this idea of failure being very negative, that if you don't succeed in doing something, right? Like if you fail a test, it's a bad thing. If you fail a level, it's a bad thing. If you, you know, and we also have this idea of this is an ending, right? So it's like you fail a test and then you never take it again. Although I understand that that's changing. Whoops, whoa. Yeah. Yeah, so, and that is a big thing, but that also depends on your own, like this is also a subjective thing. If you are attempting to 100% a song, then one note is a failure because you didn't do it, right? But if we stop looking at failure as the end, right, then we can just try again. Then it's just an attempt that we didn't finish. What if we put it that way? Look at that strawberry. You know, in the paper it also says, and this is almost, ooh, that's, oh God, I have to go that way anyways, gross. It also said that failure is necessary to human experience and growth, which is interesting because if culturally we think about failure as being bad, then we are losing out on all that we can get from failure, right? All of those learning experiences. That is also a good point, right? So earlier, somebody, I don't remember who, had talked about you need failure to learn, but the idea of also failure adding value, right? Success would hold no value if you succeeded every time. So this is a big thing that comes into design classes, especially if for any of your groups, and I don't remember if I told anybody in this class that or not, but it happens a lot. But if I told you to think about your demographic, right? And this is important because you need to have some challenge, some struggle, something to do, right? Now, like when I say demographic, this game, for example, I would not give to, say, a 5-year-old to play, right? Because it would be far too difficult, right? But if you take a game that's made for a 5-year-old and you try to give it to me, I'm likely not to care if I succeed because it's a given that I would succeed, right? There's no value in it for me. I don't. This is literally scary to me. Do I want to go down or I want to go up? No, I don't want to go down. No, I just want to go back in. What? Is this just a dead end because of a fucking strawberry? Oh. So what about the threat of failure, right? What if you're trying to do a thing, you don't die, shit, so you don't have any actual failure, but you could have failed. Is that gonna then make a difference? You know what, fuck this strawberry. I don't even know where I need to go now. Ugh. Nope. Buy the blueberry again, I agree. Strawberry is not valid. So, I already did that, right? Whoops. Yeah, there's nowhere else to go here. Dang it. So I think when you talk about games that don't have a win state, and I'm about to throw out something that's going to be very different but still relevant, I would again say it depends on what you're trying to get out of it. And no, there doesn't have to be failure in that case, but then also, is there anything else that comes with it, right? There's really no success, there's no win. I don't even know if you're learning anything, really. So thinking about it like a contemplation. I both love and hate this game. No. The strawberries have been declared invalid. Alright, so, real gamers don't eat fruit. Ha!
False. We eat fruit.
My roommate is going to be a ghost for the rest of class now. So like in theory, I understand what I have to do. I'm not sure I can get my fingers to do it. So like, I think we want to go up. So those are basically metagames, right? When you have these little goals that aren't really a part of the game itself. Yes. Wait, no. For some games, right? It depends. Oh, okay. Pause, take a break, breathe. That is what's important in this game. Pausing to breathe. Okay, I am gonna move on from this. Not that the conversation's not good, but because there's other things we need to cover. And this is one of those questions that, as you can probably tell, there's really no definitive answer, right? Because there's a lot of meta goals, meta games that you can play within things. People play for different reasons. Then we're also, as we already talked about, well, what is the definition of failure? And these are all really important questions and things that when you're designing games, you should be thinking about, because you need to then define success and failure or not within what you're designing. But there's no scenario where we get to definitive answers by the end of this class. So I want to explain why I'm going to cut it and move on. Not because the conversation isn't good. But we do have other things to cover. And one of the things I want to talk about is your own successes and failures in designing and playtesting and whatnot that we've talked about in class. It is philosophical, but that's not to say that it's not important. And it's also not to say that it won't inform, sorry, the word just literally went out of my mind, that it won't inform your design, right? Which is why it's important to think about. And you can either have an answer for yourself and use that in your design, or not have an answer for yourself and use that in your design, right? Those are both completely legit ways. I start all the way down here. Damn. Of looking at it. Now, one thing that the article also talks about, and this does play into how you define failure within a game or not, is they talk about how clear goals and feedback is important in games, right? So as I'm playing, I died. That is legit feedback that right now I just suck. And that's fine. No, actually, it's just feedback that I'm not doing what I need to do right now. And that feedback is important because then I can see what to do later. Like literally, because a lot of times when I get into like a new area, my first thought, even though I don't share it out loud very often, my first thought is, this is impossible. And that lasts for about 10 seconds. And then I start looking at it and I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I can do this. And then I die. And then but then in moving, I see what else is possible, right? So anyways, as you're thinking about design and failure in your own games, you also need to then think about the feedback, and goals that you are giving or not giving your players, as that will affect how they think about success and failure in your game. Oh, ugh. So my thought is that if I jump onto the green thing again, that I can get a higher arc to get over the pointy things down there. That's kind of what I'm going here for. Wrong button. Wrong direction. Whoa, missed the green thing. On top of the green thing. Oop. Broke the green thing. That green thing's giving me some problems. Alright, let's get back to the article on, although you guys are at least pointing out really good games. So one of the arguments that Jewel also makes in this article is that within games, failure is more endurable. Is that the word I'm looking for? It's a word now. Because it's essentially a safe space, right? Like we can endure failing in a game. Because we're not really dying, right? I mean, IRL, I am never going to go climb a mountain. I have no desire to climb a mountain. And I sure as shit have no desire to die on a mountain. But I am happy to play Celeste and die over and over again. I would not say that they're easier to design. Because when you are designing for online MMOs, you have to take into account not just player decisions and things that they are going to do that you will never expect, but times that by thousands, and then the interactions between each other, which is like an exponential difference.
Yeah, like the plague that went on in WoW, right?
You know, and yeah, and so if you are talking about like the failure being generated by other players, if what you're talking about is PvP, you still have to design PvP, right? I mean, one of the things to remember, and this might sound weird, and in fact I hope it sounds weird, but I sometimes have to remind people that games don't grow on trees. And what do I mean by that? I have literally heard people make the argument that oh, well, of course this thing works that way because that's how it naturally works. I heard this a lot when I was doing research in World of Warcraft. I would ask about or point out the way certain mechanics worked, and players would tell me because that's the way it naturally works. There is nothing natural within a game, right? And so if you decide to allow failures generated by other players, again, I'm assuming that what you mean here is PvP, then you have to design for that and balance that, right? Because if the failure is that you are a cleric and a barbarian just beat the crap out of you, the fact that you are a cleric shouldn't be a failure, right? Your failure shouldn't be the choice of your class at the beginning of the game. I don't know if I can get past this board, and I don't really want to spend the next 2 hours here.
You say that about every board.
Rockhopper, what are you talking about? I keep forgetting to grab the right trigger when I get on that wall, and that's why I keep falling. Oh.
So close. Not so close.
Okay, so I do see what you're saying. So that is still something that is, yes. So I understand that that's what people mean when they say that that's just how it naturally works, because that's what they're accustomed to. But that is problematic, right? Because then if that's how players start conceiving of it, and let's be real, the people who end up making games or people who play games, then what we're going to have is we're just going to have years and years and years of people remaking World of Warcraft, or people remaking Celeste or Grand Theft Auto, right? Because then they're just going to design something that works the way they naturally, although there's nothing natural about it, have decided that that's the way it works, right? And so I don't ever want my design students thinking about like, this is how it naturally works, which is not to say that you shouldn't use conventions, right? So one of the things I tell people, or one of the things I suggest for a lot of the types of games that I get from students are to use WSAD, right? And the reason why is because it's a simple convention. A lot of people are used to it for movement, and there's no point in reinventing the wheel, right? Using conventions can be great for a lot of reasons. But if the only thing you do is use a bunch of conventions, and you're not even remixing them in an interesting way, then you are just remaking World of Warcraft, and nobody cares. AJ, you joined late. We're talking about failure. We're talking about the article. I think it's also important to really pay attention to what we think of and conceive of as natural, because even beyond games, the things that we sometimes fall into the habit of thinking is natural will prevent us from ever progressing past that, right? So it's not even just in game design, right? Like, for a long time, long time, people thought that women were naturally less intelligent than men. And it took people not believing that. It took women not accepting that to get us to a point where we now know that that's bullshit. But for a long time, that was literally seen as natural, even though it is not, right? So you need to be careful. Always need to be very careful about what we think of that is natural versus what is our own bias, our own comfort zone, or just our own experience.
Convention and natural are two vastly different ways of thinking about the same thing.
Exactly. And it will affect how you then proceed to it. I don't want to do this. Why did I choose this game?
Say this every year. She says this every semester, during every class that she plays it, during every single board.
Where's my hair tie? Oh, this is what failure looks like. This is not pleasantly frustrating. Thank you. Did you just take this out of your hair?
Yes.
You are so sweet. I had one down here somewhere. Oh. So I'm using the joystick. We should play Dark Souls less brutal. I do not own Dark Souls.
I have a gift already here for your birthday in the house, but I can get you one.
No, I don't want Dark Souls. I've played Dark Souls, alright? For the starter, okay, so let's try it. What if I did that? Okay, I'm gonna try with the gamepad and we're just gonna see what happens. Maybe this is gonna be worse. That is, wait, one more time. Oh. Thanks. It is quite painful to watch. All right. I don't know what to say about that. So when I play games that are really hard on my private channel, people love watching me fail over and over again. Anyways, we are not here to talk about me failing left and right during class.
Isn't that why you chose this game? Isn't that the purpose of Celeste? Is that you fail over and over again and then show...
No, so what we're... It is actually related to, yes, you are all, actually everyone is correct. This is actually related to the article, that is why I chose the game. But it's also because, in part for two reasons. And one of the big ones that I chose this game is for the next point that I want to bring up, and that is that in the article they talk about taking responsibility for failure, which is something that is very hard to do, okay? And one of the reasons I like to play this game for this article, or for this class, is because this game is very well designed, okay? There is no way that I can reasonably attempt to make an argument with all that I know, with all that I've read, with all my experience in game design. I cannot reasonably make the argument of, I am failing because this game is bad. This game is not bad. In this case, it is all my fault. I am doing poorly right now. And it was important to me to have a game where I couldn't blame it on the game. Because it does sometimes happen, right, that you have a poorly designed game. And sometimes it can be hard to tell what the actual case is. Oh shit, oh, it's right here. I mean, if it's intentionally poorly designed, so I don't know this game. But my question would be, is it intentionally poorly designed, or is it designed to screw you because there's some other message? Okay. I need to take a bio break if I'm going to continue this, and I'm going to do it right here. Where it's safe. I'll be right back. But I want you to think about, while I'm gone, I'll be right back, to think about responsibility, about taking responsibility for your failure and what that means in relation to game design, both as for you as a student while you're dealing with playtests, and also as you as a player. Oh, shit. I kind of tripped over the blanket, and so that sit was actually me kind of falling on the couch. I will say this. I am more awake now than I was all day. Alright, let me catch up here. Oh, there wasn't a whole lot while it's gone. It's cool. It even has its own Twitch emote. So I'm gonna have to look up this game. I want to be the Boshi. I'm not sure how it's pronounced because I'm really not familiar with this game at all. But I'm gonna look it up and see what y'all are talking about. Which is not taking responsibility, which is what I asked you to talk about. Which is something we've talked about before in class, so you guys should know. You guys should know things and have things to say. It's a rage platformer. Unlike this, is this not a rage platformer? Okay, so let me just think through this before I lose my progress. I wish I could save right here. So the thing about this game, I wish I could save wherever I wanted. Anyways.
Wait, can you cling to the ceiling? Or only to walls?
Only to wall. I think only to walls. Can you cling to the ceiling?
Okay, only walls.
So I feel like if I do the
like jump up and then like speed over?
Yeah, that's what I tried doing last time, and then I didn't make it. And I'm trying to think, what I'm trying to like visualize in my head is, did I not make it because I just timed it wrong last time, or if it's a question of needing to jump onto the green thing. So that green diamond thing gives you like an extra boost.
Oh. So you're just not timing the hitting of the green, right?
So I don't know if I needed the green or not, because I used the green to get up here. You can get more distance by wall jumping off the white wall. Oh, yeah.
That was my next thing, was that you could climb up the wall and then hop over.
All right, I'm going to try the wall thing, and we're going to see what happens. In the meantime, why is taking personal responsibility important? Yeah, MZAC, that's what I tried doing before, and again, I think maybe I just timed it wrong.
Are we talking about failure as designers or as players, or both?
So before we were talking about as players, now we're talking about as both. Yeah, so as X Ross says, you won't learn, you won't progress, you won't move on if you don't take responsibility for your failure, right? Literally, because here's the thing. If I'm literally paused here because I'm afraid to take the next move. Let's say I was sitting here and I was like, oh, this is poorly designed. Oh, my controller is sticking. Oh, the battery is low on my controller. Whatever, right? If I was saying those things and I was thinking those things, that means I'm not thinking about a solution to this problem, right? I am blaming somebody else, and that means I'm not going to learn, and I'm not going to progress, and I'm not going to finish this game. And that's true in life as well, right? I mean, it's no different. I'm sure we've all known that person who's like, oh, I didn't get into college because XYZ, that had nothing to do with themselves. It wasn't because they got drunk before taking their ACT. It wasn't because they decided to never go to class or whatever. I'm just making stuff up. But, you know, if you are constantly just saying it's somebody else's problem, you're never going to get further. You laked during the ATC, that sucks. And all of that is not to say that sometimes it's not to the fault, that it's not your fault, right? Like if you actually laked during the ACT, that is not your fault, right? Oh, 100%. Blaming other things is a normal strategy and it's your mind coping with stresses. I get it. And I also want to point out that I am not bashing when people do this. I do this. I do this all the time. I try very hard not to, right? So for example, when I said that the reason I play Celeste for this game, or for this class, is because this game is so well made that I can't blame it, is because if I played other games, and I can't really think of one at the moment, but like if I played another game, the chances that I would have to spend too much of my time trying to not blame the game rather than teaching the class, right? Oh, Tarblade, you are phenomenal. So when you say dash diagonally, do you mean like jump off the green thing or just dash up from where I am? Well, I'm waiting for Tarblade to answer, and I'm still nervously not moving. You're gonna speed run to the left. God damn you, someone. I suppose I'm not that far in if you're really good at this game. Okay. Fuck! Don't even. That's not funny.
It is.
No! Nobody asked you. You are not in this class. Oh.
This is what you get for doing lecture in the living room. That's all I'm saying.
I don't have Celeste on my computer. I don't even know if it's on PC. Probably. What's not on PC these days?
It is on the written.
I would not want to play this on PC. I am very comfortable with this on console.
I can tell.
A lot of it has to do with the size of the screen though too. Like I really prefer some games on the bigger screen. Like I don't know how to describe it because even if the amount of information I get on a smaller screen is the same as the bigger screen.
You would do it dashless?
I've heard this.
That's just rude.
Yeah, I've heard. I have never seen it done, but I've heard that that is the case. Okay, so the other thing, okay, so one of my big problems is I hit jump when I want to hit dash, or I hit dash when I want to hit jump. That is like one of my main problems, which is a me problem, right? That's not a game problem. You grab the wall in the bottom next to the spikes, then just climb the wall. Wait, you mean like that? Like right there?
Nice. Oh.
I mean, here's the other thing. Like, I am clearly getting better at this part, right? Because, which does show learning, despite all the deaths. Whoa. But I want to go back. I want to go back to this idea of responsibility real quick. Because everything that you said is true, and I really wanted to emphasize this idea of personal responsibility. Oh, I'm sure the dashless clears are harder than normal clears. But that's not to say that it's always your fault, right? Because there are times. What was it? I think it was while I was playing Witcher 2. I got to this one battle, and I just kept dying, like for an entire stream. I stream Witcher, and it was horrible. And I got to this point, like I literally was getting to this point where like I don't know what else to try. It seemed to me that the reaction time was what was killing me, because I would hit a button to do the sign, the sigil, like they do in Witcher, and it wouldn't come up fast enough, right? And so I tried all these different strategies. Finally got to this point where I was like, I wasn't sure if this was a failure on my part or if it was actually a failure on the game. Talked to a couple of their streamers that were streaming this game. They're all having the same problem. Finally, somebody says to me, no, I looked it up. There is a glitch in the keyboard controls. It doesn't respond as fast, but if you plug in a controller, it works better. I'm like, okay. So I plug in the controller, and I didn't win the first time because I've been playing this entire series on a keyboard for all of Witcher 1 and half of Witcher 2. But I want to say 20 minutes later, I finished that fight. Whereas with the keyboard, I had already put in like a good 3 or 4 hours and had kept dying. So yes, sometimes it's not your fault. But you have to be cognizant of these things, right? And think about them. Okay, so if I dash diagonally, Tarblade says, this game reminds you of Flappy Bird? Why? Is that true? Because I have only played Dark Souls with keyboard and mouse. Are you telling me that I should retry it with the controller? Diagonally up, running up and down. Okay. Okay, I can do this. You know what's making this worse? There are more viewers than there are students in my class. People are logging in to watch this. Oh, I do have a PS4. I'm playing on the PS4 right now. Oh, it didn't even occur to me to grab this out of the platform. Oh my god. Close, close, close. Whoops. Controller. Okay. You can just sideways dash. Where? Oops, forgot to hit the dash button. Again, forgetting to hit from the top. Oh, okay. Oh, that's cool. Why am I not? You have to grab the wall. Okay, I'm good. Take a break again. Okay, so I know there's a lot of like in and out conversation as I failed and people backseat gamed, which is cool. I'm down with backseat gaming and everything. But I just want to make sure that we didn't get lost. Do we understand responsibility from the player side about not blaming the game, even though being cognizant that sometimes, sure, it is the game, but being very careful to use our failures as learning experiences. Are we all? We all there? Okay, good. I was pretty sure that, I mean, this is a really bright group. I was pretty sure y'all followed, but I like to check in, make sure. I also like to procrastinate while I'm sitting here. You mean that you got through it on your first try, or that you skipped it and I somehow didn't realize I could just skip it? Because I will skip this shit if I can. I get lost in games sometimes. Like I am like IRL, like geographically challenged is the best way I could come up with it. Like I get lost. I get lost all the time. I stayed at my mom's and I used to live there, right? And I was dog sitting while her and my dad were on vacation. And I took dogs for a walk and I got lost. That's how bad I am. And so I also get lost in games sometimes where I literally get confused as to where I have to go. I do understand now what you're saying, Tarblade. You're just showing me up. Better gamer. I see how it is. So I also very rarely play platformers, and I wonder how much of a difference that makes. Okay, so I also now want to say that this whole idea about taking responsibility, but sometimes it is the game's fault, is actually true also for your playtests. Now, it's quite possible that somebody in the room right now is like, WTF, why didn't you tell us earlier? Because earlier in the semester, remember I told you, hey, if the playtest goes bad, it's your fault. It's not the tester's fault. That's because I needed to break you out of this idea of blaming somebody else, right? Now, in particular, I say this because in general, you should heed what the playtesters say and how they behaved, but not necessarily do what they want you to do. There was one game in particular, and I can't remember if it was this class or Tuesday group, but if it was this class, let me know, where all of the playtesters for draft 1 and 2 said that the game was too hard. Because they died quickly or whatever happened. And I understand why they say that, because when I played the game, I also had that experience of it being very hard and negative effects piling up really quickly. It was the card game about tenants. Is that this class? Yeah. Yep. Okay. So I actually, and I'm not bashing anybody who gave, that means that the people I'm talking about also it was in this class. I get why that's frustrating, but I would argue two things. One, depending on the luck of the draw, sickness could stack up a lot. I do get that. But also, the message of that game is frustration, right? It is difficulty. If that game is not difficult, if things like sickness don't stack up, if it wasn't so easy to fail and so hard to win, then the message would be lost, right? And so sometimes we have to, look at what players are telling us and not do what they want us to do, but also fix it, right? So sickness could stack up to the point where you could just immediately die and not get to do anything, and that's a problem. But if that happened and somebody was like, oh, the game is too hard, you should make it easier. No, you don't make the game easier, right? So that's not what I mean by always listen to the playtester, but to actually listen to what they're saying, not necessarily do what they want. Right, but things like the counting and stuff like that, that's a different subwild. That's not quite what I'm talking about, because I also said the counting was confusing and you should use trackers. That is something different. Okay, so we're gonna try this again.
I believe in you.
I don't. No, I have to get. Tarblade said I have to do this one. This isn't one of the optional rooms. When I'm up here, where I'm at right now, jump left, dash super late, straight left, Okay.
I believe in you. Let's go. You can do it.
Okay, so dash super late. Shit, I hit the wrong button. I hit the dash button instead of the jump. I hate my thumbs right now. I know, I forgot to jump. I didn't forget to jump. I hit the wrong button, right? So it's like I thought that I was hitting the jump button.
Then you dash right into the thing.
It's fine.
It's not what happened.
Oh. Okay. Oh my god! Oh, holy shit! Okay, we're just gonna pause here for just a second. Oh. Oh my god. Ugh. So question, because I'm just gonna straight up like take all the back seating right now. So on the bottom of the screen, it looks like I can see some like red there. Is that gonna be a floor that I can stand on? Like, is that what I'm aiming for here?
Yeah. So it's just a wall climbing mission?
Oh, you gotta dash to the far left wall, okay. Okay. Oh, okay, okay. Pause,
Yeah.
pause, pause.
Woo-hoo!
Pausing is important. Mm. Okay, so while I take a deep breath. Oh, puppies. While I take a deep breath here, there's a couple more things in the article that I want to cover, and then we will stop. So actually, this is probably the last thing we'll cover. Okay, so Jewel also talks about the optimal path, and he talks about this in relation to gamification. Who can tell me what he means when he's talking about make sure that the optimal path is the right path? What does he mean by that? Yeah, I don't understand how there are so many things. Like someday I'm gonna just watch somebody do a dashless run, because I don't know that I can grasp how that happens without seeing it, to be honest. That's not the button I meant to press. Whoa! What the?
Things fall down.
You can grab the corner. Wow. Yeah, so there's a couple of things. So when you're talking about specifically serious games or educational games, you do have to make sure that the optimal path is the one that will not punish being good, right? So if you're trying to teach people, you know, that, let's say, so they take the Tenet game, for example. In the Tenet game, they're 100% one of the messages is that you need to work together in order to survive, right? Because if you don't, everyone could get kicked out and your goal is to stay. But if you make it so that it is more beneficial for one player to be very selfish and to not work together, and then that player wins, then the optimal path is giving the wrong message, right? And when you're talking about serious games, it can be very difficult. Like, it literally adds another layer of difficulty to you as the designer, because you also have to worry about the messaging, which in a game that is not, that doesn't have a message, that isn't trying to make a point or teach a thing, even though it is still teaching a thing, but that's another conversation, then there's less to work out, right? So it's not going to be always the first conclusion that a player comes to, but it does have to be the one that makes the most sense. That's not how I want to phrase it. Okay. Dash as a mechanic is in this game. I have been using Dash to finish the game. It is designed for boards to be easier if you use Dash. That is the optimal path. As Tarblade pointed out with spike jumps and whatever else weirdness, you can get through the whole game without using Dash. That is not the optimal path. It's still possible, right? But it is not an optimal path. And so that's what we're talking about with optimal versus suboptimal paths. Now, if this was a learning game and you needed to do dashless even though there was a dash or whatever, there was a message, that could be problematic. In this case, it's not, right? It's not a problem that you can do it dashless. That is just adding a layer of difficulty that's not necessary to finish the game. And yes, I'm sitting here because I got nervous again. Whoa! There.
Oh man, you have to fall to that wall?
I'm not sure.
Oh my god, you're gonna have to fall to that wall, cling, and then drop and dash over. Because I bet those red things are spiked again.
I don't think the red things are spiked. I think they're just background. Whoops.
Oh, you have to ride the thing down. That makes sense.
Shit. Missed it.
Nice.
Can I... Oh, hold on. Okay, so Undertale is a phenomenal example to bring up, right? Because Undertale is intentionally subverting this general rule in order to make a point, right? That's why Undertale is not a classic example for what we're talking about, but it is also a good example because it is a way in which you can take this general rule and then subvert it in order to make a point. By the way, I say this every semester, but if you've not played Undertale, you should play Undertale. I would argue that the fact that not killing is an option is in and of itself a hint that you cannot, that not killing could be significant. Because with a lot of games, that's not an option. With a lot of games, it is, here's a mob in front of you, it is kill or be killed. There's no option for talking through or any of the other options that you have in Undertale. The fact that I so consistently just confuse pressing dash with jump is ridiculous. That is a great game for that class. I say that not because I love Undertale, but because there are games that are easier or harder for that assignment. Why am I not... It's not letting me dash all of a sudden. All right, so so the last point I'm going to make real quick about the article, and we can talk about it if you want or not, because we talked about it a lot last week, or maybe it was the week before, I don't know, but agency, right? So failure also helps with a sense of agency, because if you can fail, then you know that your choices matter, right? Now, there are a lot of ways that agency can be put into a game, so I'm not saying that you have to have failure in order to have agency, but just that that is a way to put... You can just dash up that thing, I don't have to go across. What? Really? Wait, how'd you... So does anyone have questions about the whole agency bit? Oh! That is significantly easier. Oh my god.
Interesting, because I think that's what you did the first time.
Today? Well, whatever. At least I know how to get past that faster. Whoops. Oops. Oops. You know what helps? Okay, any questions on any of the things we talked about? On the agency thing that I just mentioned, on responsibility, on failure, on learning, on da-da-da-da-da. All the things. I don't know, I don't quite understand what I need to do after I get down. Also, I'm drinking way too much coffee. I need to bio break again. All right, if there's no questions in chat by the time I get back, I'm going to move on to announcements and then class is going to be over. For a brief moment when I said I should play this first thing in the morning, the look on my roommate's face was priceless. All right, so there's no questions in the time it took me to AFK bio. Announcements. Yeah, we're basically at the end of the semester. So next week, y'all have presentations and then you have your final draft. Are there any questions on that? Does anybody have questions on draft 3, your presentations, finishing out the semester, grades, anything at all? Right? Literally, we have 2 weeks after this and then that's it. That's done. You have no final exams, so the last day of class is the last day you have anything. You have to let your roommate sleep no playing this early in the morning. I mean, that would actually be a potential problem because I do wake up at like 7, 8 in the morning and she wakes up at like 7, 8 at night.
False.
I exaggerate a little bit. She wakes up at like noon.
It's like 10. 10.
Can you record your presentation? So I've had a couple people ask me this, and that was not originally my intention, but honestly, if you want to record your presentation, like if that would be easier for you, I'm actually okay with that. However, I will let you know that that doesn't mean you can't come to class. So here's what it's going to be. We're going to do the presentation, the presentations during class, and then there's time for questions and answers. So if you record your presentation, that's fine, but we will watch your presentation together as a class, and then we will take questions, which obviously can't be pre-recorded, right? I mean, if we talk about getting out of bed, I was out of bed at 8 this morning, but if we talk about when I actually like mentally woke up, it was 30 minutes after this class started. So MD, I would say, probably both. Most students, groups, whatever, ultimately do both of those things. So it's going to depend on what point in your presentation, right? So in your presentation, so these are postmortems, right? So what you're going to want to talk about is your process, literally what you did, how you did this game. I don't mean the minutia of data of like, and then on one day I spent 2 hours doing blah, blah, blah. No, but talk about like in a more general way of like, we decided to use X engine to teach blah, 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 because we really like blah, 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 or we think blah, blah, blah is important, or just be honest, blah, blah, blah was easy, whatever, it doesn't matter. But then talk about the process of like how you decided to use these things or to do it in the way that you did it. And then you also need to talk about what went well and what did not go well. And by that, I mean, you could say something like, oh, we chose to use Bitsy and it worked out really well because we were able to make a decent looking game, even though none of us were artists. Whereas if we had used a different, engine, maybe it would have been harder. But then you could say something like that, but also it didn't go well because Bitsy was very limiting in whatever choices we were trying to make. Whatever, and not just Bitsy, right? So the other things that would work well or not is how well you worked together, right? And we all know that not everybody's group was hunky-dory. And so if communication was a problem, then, say that. Do not point fingers at people, all right? That is not what I'm talking about, right? What I am talking about is I've had groups that will, for example, say something along the lines of, one of our problems was communication, certain things, somebody thought they were doing, or thought somebody else was doing, or, this part and that part didn't mesh because person A had one idea and person B had another idea. And then when they came together, because they were not on the same page, it went haywire, whatever. Those are the types of things that I mean if communication was a problem. We are not here to just bash other people. But then also what worked really well, right? So like maybe you found that, whatever was happening with communication, but we discovered that when we started working together and screen sharing, it worked out a lot better, right? Cool. So part of those you would probably want PowerPoints because you might have something like a PowerPoint screen that says, this is the engine we chose, this is why we chose it, da 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 da. But then if you wanted to say something like I mentioned with like the Bitsy art thing, if that was one of your reasons, then it might actually make a lot of sense to show like a screenshot of your game. If you're talking about something that went well or not well with the mechanics, you might even want to show a short video of the game. Should be really short, right? So your whole presentation can't be us just watching the game. Unless you wanted to do something like this, like a Twitch-like presentation where you are recording the gameplay as people talk over it about the process. That would also be acceptable. That's not gonna work. Oops. So when it comes to style, I don't have a preference as long as you cover the points that I just said you needed to cover. Right? So if you wanted to do a Twitch-like thing where you're playing your game, cool. You wanted to do all PowerPoint, that's also cool. Having some video of the game could make sense. It could not make sense, depending on what you're trying to do. At a minimum, I would have a screenshot of your game. We should be able to see something of what you're trying to talk about. That is poorly timed. But all of those options are fine. Any other questions on the presentation? I'm not super strict with timing, right? So if you're like 30 seconds over the max, I'm not going to, fail you. However, if you start going way over, like if you're like getting to 2-3 minutes over, I will start docking you. If you go way over that, I will cut you off. which then also means that if some of the information needed to be there was after that, then you're not going to get credit for that. What do you mean by fifth topic? Because there's a lot of ways you can divide this up, right? So you can have an explanation of the game. Like let's just say you're doing this with people. You could have an explanation of what the game is, how your design process worked, what went well, what didn't go well. You could also talk about playtesting. Yeah, no. So what you could do is basically, I would say, break one of those topics down into another thing, right? So talking about what went well, what didn't go well could also be a question of, you know, how you dealt with playtesting, right? So you could have like, here's what went well while we were designing things. Here's what did not go well while we were designing things. And then compare both of these to, you know, but while playtesting, the players thought this was really good and this was really bad, right? So playtesting, but if you only had 4 people, right? Playtesting is also a part of the process. So, you know, that's what I mean by break it up, right? So I would expect when somebody talks about the process of designing, that playtesting would be included there. But playtesting is really a big deal. So if you wanted to separate that out into a separate topic, you could 100% also do that. I wanted to specify that because I wanted to make sure that in me pulling out playtesting, other people didn't think, oh, we don't need to talk about playtesting. Yeah, you do. Playtesting is extremely important. I literally did this successfully the first time and now I can't get it. WTF, BBQ. All right, I need to get up there and then I need to press X. That's not X, that was square. That was also square. Any other questions on the presentation since we are on that topic? Obviously. Whoa, that was really bad. If not, are there any questions on the final draft? So I just want to say, and I say this more and more the closer we get to the end, right? Like, now is the time. So I wonder if it's like I'm just like too much on an angle. Is that a problem? Or I need to dash mid-air? Because I'm pretty sure I got over there the first time. Ooh, wow. Okay. I'm trying to like jump up and over like I accidentally did that first time. Yep, like that. Ooh, no, not. Wow, that was special. Ooh. Alright, I'm not seeing any questions, so you have about an hour left in class. You should get together with your groups, work on that presentation, and also, let me just throw this out here real quick. And part of the reason that we are going to have a question and answer period after the presentations is because this is going to be your one last shot to get a little bit of feedback from class before your final draft is due, right? So that is why presentations come before your final. So I will also expect everybody to, you know, pay attention to each other's presentations so that they can ask questions, because that can actually be really helpful feedback for the groups. We will do the presentations on Discord. That is not for public consumption, so we will not do that on Twitch, just in case anybody was concerned about things. But yeah, if there's no more questions, y'all can go. We are done. Okay, so now that's whatever, class is over. Thank you. There we go. Yeah, thank you, and I'll see you guys next week. I will be around on Discord if anybody has any questions, right? Because class is not over. This is now your group time. So feel free to ask me things.